Single dad gives coat to shivering stranger. She's a billionaire who follows him home. It was one of those biting winter evenings in Chicago, where the wind didn't just whistle, it howled. Slade Morgan, a single father and night shift mechanic, was hustling through the snow-covered sidewalk, holding his 5-year-old daughter Lily's mittened hand. They were heading to the bus stop after daycare's car had finally given out a week ago. As they neared the stop, Slade spotted her, a woman standing under the flickering streetlight, arms wrapped around herself, teeth chattering. Her coat was thin, her shoes soaked, and her eyes tired and glassy met his with a silent plea. Slade didn't hesitate. He slid off his heavy work coat and draped it over her shoulders. "You look like you need this more than I do," he said, offering a warm smile. The woman blinked, stunned. "I can't take your coat. I insist," he replied. "I've got tough skin. You look like you've been out here a while." She pulled the coat tightly around her, eyes never leaving him. "What's your name, Slade? And this little snowball is Lily." She crouched to Lily's level and smiled. "Hi, sweetheart." "Lily," grinned Daddy's coat smells like gasoline and pancakes. The woman laughed sincerely, maybe for the first time in days. "My name's Elise," she said, brushing snow from her hair. Slade nodded. "You got somewhere to go, Elise?" She hesitated. "Not really." Slade looked at Lily, who gave an eager nod as if she already liked the stranger. "Come on, we don't have much, but we've got heat and cocoa." Back at their apartment, Slade's apartment was humble, barely furnished, with second-hand everything, but it was filled with warmth, laughter, and the scent of cinnamon cocoa. Elise sat by the heater, still wrapped in his coat, sipping from a chipped mug. "I'll have it drink-cleaned," and returned. She said. "Don't worry about it," Slade said, washing dishes. "It's just a coat." But to Elise, it wasn't just a coat. It was the first act of kindness she'd received in a long time, not from someone trying to impress her, but from someone who didn't even know who she was, because what Slade didn't know was that Elise Belmont was one of the wealthiest women in the country, CEO of Belmont International, and she had just walked out of a boardroom war zone after being betrayed by her closest advisors. She'd needed air, clarity, anything, but when her phone died, her driver couldn't find her. She'd ended up wandering the city alone, discarded by the world she ruled. And now, she sat in a stranger's apartment, watching a father cut crusts off a sandwich while humming to his daughter, and she felt something she hadn't felt in years. Peace. The next day, Elise left quietly at dawn, borrowing Slade's coat with a promise scribbled on a napkin. "Thank you. You saved more than my body, you saved my faith in people. I'll return this soon." Slade assumed he'd never see her again, just another passing soul, until 3 days later, a black car pulled up outside his apartment. Out stepped Elise, this time in a pristine designer coat, heels clicking confidently on the sidewalk. Behind her, a man stepped out holding a suit bag and another carrying a toy castle set nearly as big as Lily. She knocked. Slade opened the door mid-bite into a sandwich. "Elise, I believe this belongs to you," she said, holding out the freshly cleaned coat. He took it, stunned. "You really came back." "I said I would," she replied with a soft smile, "and I don't break promises." Lily came bounding out. "You're the cocoa lady." Elise laughed and knelt. "And I brought a castle, just for you." Slade looked at the gifts, the black car, and the well-dressed entourage. "You're not who I thought." "No," Elise said, "but you treated me like a human being when everyone else saw a name or a paycheck. That means something." Weeks later, Slade never expected the relationship that grew. Elise visited often, each time a little longer. She met Lily's teachers, helped repair their broken heater, and once she even rolled up her sleeves to help Slade fix a neighbor's car. Rumors began to swirl in the business world when Elise started missing board meetings for personal reasons. But she didn't care. She found something in that apartment no money could buy: love, humility, and purpose. And one snowy evening, as Lily slept between them on the couch, Elise whispered, "What if we build something together? A real family?" Slade looked at her, eyes wide. "I gave you my coat," he chuckled. "You gave me everything else." Elise Belmont wasn't used to waiting, not in business, not in life. But here she was, waiting for Slade and Lily to finish their Saturday. Pancakes in a cozy little kitchen with a wobbly table and a curtain rod held up by duct tape. And yet, she felt no urge to rush, only to stay. Slade poured her a cup of coffee and smiled. "You sure you want to be here? With me? With this?" He gestured around to the tiny, lived-in apartment. Elise reached across the table and squeezed his hand. "Slade, you gave me warmth before you knew my name. This place, it's more home than my mansion ever was." He blushed and looked away. "You could have anything. I do have what I want, right here." But the world was watching, despite Elise's attempts to keep their connection private. Someone snapped a photo of her and Lily playing in the snow outside the building. The billionaire CEO in jeans and snow boots, helping a little girl build a crooked snowman. It went viral in hours. "Is that Elise Belmont? Billionaire seen leaving rundown apartment. Who's the mystery mechanic dad?" Within days, the press swarmed Slade's block. Cameras followed Elise's every move. Slade, unused to attention, kept his head down, but it was Lily who suffered. Most her daycare refused to deal with paparazzi. Neighbors began whispering, and Slade, he felt his quiet world spiraling. One night, Elise showed up late. Her eyes read. They want me to issue a statement, she said. Deny we're together. Say I was doing charity outreach. Slade nodded slowly. Makes sense? Your board probably hates this. She stepped forward, placing a hand on his chest. I don't care about the board, but I care about you, he said, gently, and about Lily. This attention, it's not the life we know how to live. Her eyes welled with tears. I never meant to ruin your peace. You didn't, he whispered. You gave it color. Elise's decision the next morning. Elise called an emergency meeting with her board. They expected her to apologize, to say it was all a distraction, to return to her lane. Instead, she walked in with a stack of resignation papers. I'm stepping down as CEO, she said. I've done everything I set out to do on now. I want to do something real. Her board panicked. You're throwing away your legacy for a mechanic. No, she said calmly. I'm building a new one with a father who gives his coat to strangers, and a little girl who calls me Snow Queen. That's a legacy worth more than headlines. 1 year later, the house was still modest, but now it had new windows, a working furnace, and fresh paint Lily picked out herself. Elise had invested in Slade's dream, his own garage. Together, they opened Morgan Motors, where Elise handled the business side, and Slade fixed engines with a smile. People came not because of her fame, but because of their story, and because Slade's garage had a little sign on the door. We fix engines. We don't judge stories. A snowy evening, Elise stood on the porch, watching Lily race through the snow. Slade stepped beside her, slipping a familiar old coat over her shoulders. You kept it? She smiled. I had it stitched up, he said. It reminds me of the moment everything changed. Elise leaned her head on his shoulder. So, what happens now? Slade looked at her. Now, we build the life that coat started. Then Lily shouted from the yard, come see the snow castle. Elise took Slade's hand, and together, they stepped into the snow.